Good afternoon. How are you? Well, it's just a tad chillier and it's somewhat overcast, but it's pleasant otherwise. Thomas Jefferson says the temperature is 64 degrees and the humidity is 67 degrees. And I apologize because I just felt the wind, which is, they say, at 9.1 miles an hour. Breezy. So the battle goes on. And it is so open, almost in defiance of others, like some neighborhood bully would say, yeah, go ahead, make me. Go ahead. What do you, oh yeah. And that's Trump. That is him from the time he was a kid until now. You know, a lot of us who were in these neighborhoods in which there were street fights and stuff like that, I don't know if you grow out of it, but you do it differently. I think you more responsibly, mature. He's none of those things. He's the guy that you don't want to invite to your house because he'll say or do something terrible. Now, somehow he got invited to the White House, and as a result, he has an opportunity to do terrible things all the time, including to the White House. Now, we know he likes to fire people. He had that cockamamie show of his, and he's, you're fired, and all that gave. He really enjoyed that. He enjoyed, embarrassing, humiliating people, firing them, getting rid of them. And those of us who've ever had to fire anyone, it's a responsible way to do it because you're talking to a person who has invested themselves and may not perceive that they got it all wrong. Now, that's not Trump, obviously, but that is a lot of other people. And I did once say to a person, and we were on a very good basis, and he was doing some chores for us. And I said that great American philosopher, Clint Eastwood, said a man ought to know his limitations. And he laughed, and I laughed. And I said, and the thing is, you do these other things well, but you're not doing the things that we need to get done here. And I know your character is so good and so forth. I'd be glad to give you a commendation or recommendation for anything else you want to do. Trump's not that person. He doesn't care whom he hurts. He likes firing people because it makes him feel good. He's, crushed people, broken their spirits, cast them out into uncertainty, made them think themselves perhaps worth less. Now, so what better person could you have who's evil and doesn't give a shit about anybody else than Trump with a government shutdown, and he gets to fire people. In his mind, he thinks legally, I submit it's unlawful because there are protections for people in the government. Now, he said he was only going to fire Democrats, but you see, I've been over this with you. You're not designated as a partisan. And in fact, because of the Hatch Act, as I've said before, people employed in the federal government are chary of saying whom they support. And they often don't register as a voter. And they're when they do declare, they declare as an independent. So Trump is going after functions. And he's pretending that they're Democratic strongholds when they were policies of, well, including when we're talking about the environment, for example, Richard Nixon and the EPA, Environmental Protection Administration. And he had a whole variety of other initiatives, FOIA he was involved in and so forth. So there were things that in his day, Nixon was doing things that just don't fit Trump's modern model of getting away with stuff, not letting people know what you're doing. Ignore their request for information, delay it, and I'm thinking of Epstein part here. Well, let's talk a minute about Trump is firing people. And Congress is a critical player in how the government starts again. And the Speaker of the House doesn't even have his members in town. to address this critical question. Now, if we're going to fire people in different government agencies who are doing a job and who are presently working without being paid in most cases, why are we paying any member of Congress a dime? If they're not working and they're not settling this problem, why are we paying them anything? Now, another thing about this pattern of Trump's, he's doing something that is quite at odds with what Thomas Jefferson prescribed when Thomas Jefferson gave his first inaugural. And it was equal justice before the law. Now, to translate it into the terms that he elaborated upon, and that we find ourselves today, equal justice before the law meant that partisans are not punished when they lost in an election. It's equal justice for all. Now, John Adams and others had some very repressive ideas about the government. And that's why Jefferson, after some back and forth in those days, became president after Adams, and Adams did not get to succeed himself into a second term. And as you may know, Adams left town and didn't even attend Jefferson, his old friend's inauguration. So what do we have now? Well, we have Trump, who doesn't give a damn about serving all the people. Once elected, you serve everybody. And it doesn't mean you just say no because they're of this or that party. And I did have an opportunity to work on the Hill and to observe others on the Hill when the government actually worked more like that. I was on the Senate side as special counsel. I ran a couple of investigations at the behest of the Judiciary Committee and the Labor Committee. But I came back years later, and on the House side, communications had broken down. And now we're at impasse for everything. We don't even want to sit a member of Congress, a single member of Congress, because if we sit that member of Congress, she's going to vote to release the Epstein file, and Trump doesn't want that. So we're not bringing her to the table that she was elected to by the voters in her home state. Imagine that. This is what we're doing. So like at every level, we have this local gang leader who just bullies everyone in every direction, including the Speaker of the House, the People's House, supposedly. That's the most direct connection in the House of Representatives, not the Senate, in the House of Representatives with the people. And we have had so many polls that show that the people, even those who voted for Trump, are not happy with what's going on. So my advice to the Republican members of Congress, if they want to stay home, then resign your job. Refuse to be paid. Don't take any medical treatment on the Hill. Don't even think about retiring with whatever that high fraction of your last year as a member of Congress is. So if the people are upset, it's because there are different rules for different people. It's not acceptable. Today, my hobby horse is looking at the occupation of troops in various cities. And, you know, we did a thought experiment yesterday, and it basically says the numbers of people in the military they got can't do much more than provoke misconduct. That is to say, pictures of people reacting to them shooting, pepper ball guns, throwing down little grenades, and spraying gas on them. And this is, I assume they do this because they want to circulate those pictures to their constituents. That is the piece. Hey, look what they're doing. And those protesters, yeah, they're spraying them right in the face. I wouldn't be surprised if we look for it. We wouldn't find, in fact, I'm told it exists, that somebody at the White House put together a video of tear gas set to music. Now, Lylane Payne, 19, is and has been one of the demonstrators in Portland. She hasn't done anything wrong. She's quiet. She's quiet in the sense of she's not doing anything violent. Now, there's a guy on the right who's gone out there to comment on things for the right, for the Republicans. And he's a person who stirs things up. And insofar as it's freedom of speech, that's one thing. But the incident that I'm thinking about, Lylane Payne was standing talking to DHS, and there was no indication that she'd done anything that merited any kind of discipline or restraint or arrest or anything. And then all of a sudden, they burst a spray into her face and into her lungs, and she was blinded, and she walked with her hands outstretched because she couldn't see where she was. And she expressed the pain that she had at that time. Now, I mentioned this guy Sorter. They think he's the cat's meow. He went and got right up into her face and took a picture of her when she was suffering from the spray to the face. What does that tell us about the humanity or lack of humanity of this guy Sorter? Of course he's celebrated. These people like brutality. This is like the local gang. Yeah, you know what I did? I stole an apple from the guy at the corner there. That's one apple I didn't have to pay for. You know, this is who Trump is. This is his ethic. His ethic is kind of street bad guy. I guess he liked to think of himself as a mobster, but in a way, he's a crossover because he's caused more damage, perhaps, than any mobster moving drugs or transferring money of the garden variety of organized crime we see. And we have a president who feels such an affinity for other felons. He doesn't want to prosecute real felons. He's not going to prosecute that guy from DHS. That's a straight assault and battery. And it's very interesting. If you look at it, because I posted it, you'll see that when the DHS agents shot this at her, the spray, guys from behind pulled them back. I guess so they could look in case somebody came at them. No one came to attack them. It's very interesting to me. I can't imagine myself being proximate to them doing this and not getting myself in a world of trouble. But they didn't do that. And maybe I wouldn't either in the moment, thinking of how should it appear, you know, sort of like two people don't make it right by both doing the wrong thing. So here we have this young lady, and she's getting sprayed in the face, and these guys think it's the cat's meow. They think this is the coolest thing. This is why Trump has got to be run out of office. We cannot have a dictator. We cannot have an evil man. We cannot have a man who abuses individuals, who celebrates they suffer. You know, we can't have that. We can't have the people he has around him who take courage to sort of outdo each other with terrible things. Bragging, you know, you Democrats, you don't know how hard it is. You know, what a bullshitter this guy is. Think of the wars by Democratic presidents. You know, this guy is nowhere. This guy Trump is nowhere. And that's where he should be. Nowhere near the White House, nowhere near the government, nowhere near anything that matters to the safety and well-being of the public. So, the remaining thought I have is, and I know this is a burden, so if you can't do it, you can't do it. But there are going to be demonstrations a week from now all over the country. No King's Day. Basically protesting Trump as a wannabe dictator and as a king suppressing our free speech, cutting us out of the contract we made with each other in 1776 and 1787 and in the amendments since, and the changes in our statutes and so forth to make participation more, not less, and to be tolerant of differences, as Jefferson would have us be equal before the law. And so we have to send a message that this will not go on. And the people, without regard to party, are going to be suffering. I don't celebrate that. That's one of the reasons I'm upset about this. They're going to be suffering in terms of their house economics, their jobs, the cost of goods, medical treatment, education, distribution of scientific information that's necessary to us, whether it be the weather or whether it be vaccines. You know, the government can do so many good things. And somebody has to explain to me why Trump could be so evil. And it seems to me there's a bigger plan here. Does he want to be president of the planet? Does he want to hand over America to Russia, China? He sends contradictory signals all the time. I'm sure that the chaos we see is nothing like the chaos in the White House, except there's no check and balance within his structure, within the executive. And we've basically compromised the Supreme Court because we have 6 people who do what Trump wants them to do. So we have this difficulty, and we have a Congress itself that doesn't go out and represent the people, isn't working on opening the government, isn't making a decision that would allow us to be sure that our health was protected. So we're in a crisis, but we have things we can do. We're still in the game, and we have to stay in the game until we win this. So, sorry if that seemed wandering, but it basically follows the following template. We now, in the open, have a president who is occupying democratic city-states around America. We have a president who has encouraged closing down the government rather than making us all part of the government. We have a president who has no sense of justice except to get even. These are not the indications of a great leader. They are exactly the opposite. So it's up to us to work that over. And so we still have leaves of green. We have encouraging weather ahead of us. It's a beautiful day to relax. But Monday, Tuesday, and the days after that, we have to do our part, as little as we can do, or as much as we can do, to stop this juggernaut heading toward a monarchy that would defy our nation's origin and its promise so many years ago. All the best, and I say goodbye to you from our Cathedral of Trees. All the best. Bye-bye.